Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Today's lesson will be on the chapter 10 about global business ethics issues. Okay, so we're going to see ethic issues related to when organizations operate internationally or cross borders. By the end of this chapter, you should be able to discuss global values, goals, and business practices within ethics, understand the role of economics as a factor in business ethics, assess the role of multinational corporations in business ethics, assess the role of different global organizations in support of business responsibility, and gain awareness of global ethical business issues. First of all, we'll be looking at global culture, values, and practices. Okay, so we've mentioned about organizational culture, but when organizations operate across borders or operate in various countries, then national culture will also be a big influence in how an organization approaches ethical issues. Okay, so what do we mean by natural culture? So natural culture is a much broader concept than organizational culture and includes everything in our surrounding made by people, both tangible items such as artifacts and intangible entities such as concepts and values. What you understand from organizational culture can be applied to national culture, except that it is a much broader concept. Okay. Uh, Frameworks for classifying behavior patterns can help business people who work in different countries. Okay. So there are ways in which we can try to understand how how behaviors, how people behave, especially when it involves with people from different cultures, different locations. Okay, first of all, we can look at behavioral patterns by looking at individualism versus collectivism dimensions, which refers to how self-oriented members of a culture are in their behavior. Okay, so to what extent do a person or a people are individualistic, where they focus on individual achievements, or whether it's collectivism, where people work to gain more towards gaining collective goals. And then there's the power distance dimension, the power inequality between superiors and subordinates. Okay, so you can have a high or strong power distance dimension where the difference between a superior and a subordinate is large. But when in some organizations where the power distance is weak or low, the differences between superior and subordinates is less pronounced. Okay, they are more towards peers rather than superiors versus subordinates. And then the behavior of uncertainty avoidance, which refers to how members of a society respond to uncertainty or ambiguity. Okay, so there are cultures that that do not like uncertainty, or they are very much they avoid uncertainty as much as possible. So they are very risk averse. Okay, they don't take risk, they avoid taking risk. But there are some cultures where they are more risk, they have a higher risk appetite, so um, they do not avoid uncertainty as much as the other group of people. So these are the dimensions that we can try to understand how different cultures will differ, and the way that organizations approach ethical issues will be quite related to these dimensions. Okay, and then we have the self-reference criterion. In business, the idea that we differ from them, an unconscious reference to one's own cultural values, experiences, and knowledge. When conducting business internationally, there is a question of whose values and ethical standards take precedence during negotiations and business transactions. Okay, so unlike an organization that operates entirely in one location, therefore the effect of natural or national culture is not apparent. Okay, people subscribe to the same beliefs, same values. However, when an organization operates multinationally, therefore there will be instances where they face conflicts in terms of the differences in what is perceived as being ethical in one location and not ethical in another location. Okay, so how do they decide which culture that they should embrace? Okay, they should follow, because there will be some differences between different cultures. So cultural relativism is a concept that morality varies from one culture to another, and that right and wrong are defined differently. Okay, so there will be um, cases when organizations will face decisions where different cultures have different views in terms of the ethic qualities. Okay, so there are relatively different ways different cultures will look at certain issues. So global common issues, on the other hand, is certain values broadly accepted by worldwide. So one way of organizations looking at different issues is to look at the global common values. What are the shared values across different cultures? So it says here, most laws are directly or indirectly the result of values derived from the major religions of Hinduism, Buddhism, Confucianism, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. Okay, so there will be overlap. There will be some shared values, common values across the different religions, and these core values, as mentioned in the textbook, includes assurance, fairness, integrity, charity, compassion, environment, tolerance, and sacrifice. So basically, these core values, core virtues are, you can say, shared among the various religions. So if there are issues that touch on these core values, then it will not be as difficult for organizations to make decisions, because if they look at the point of view of the different religions, all of them will have the same opinion regarding that certain issue if they are about these core values.